1 week. That's all it took to flip a switch I didn't know I had. Not a new job, not a breakup, not some miracle 4 a.m. routine. Just 8 specific habits, stacked together, and by day 7 I barely recognized the guy I'd been that Sunday. Before that week, I was stuck. Tired every morning before I even stood up. Unmotivated in a way that scared me. I had these massive dreams sitting in my head. A business, a body, a better life. And meanwhile, my actual days were spent scrolling, snoozing, and going nowhere. If you graded my actions against my goals, I was failing hard. My habits looked a lot more like Bart Simpson skateboarding through detention than Ben Franklin writing out his virtues by candlelight. The gap between who I wanted to be and who I actually was brutal. Here's the promise. Whether you're low on energy, can't focus for 10 minutes straight, or can't finish what you start, these 8 habits hand you the toolkit. More energy, sharper focus, real output. Think of your life as an engine with 8 cylinders. Most guys are only firing on 1 or 2. Cylinder 1 is daily writing, and it is criminally underrated. Every morning I put pen to paper for a few minutes, and it does something nothing else does. It clarifies the day ahead and drags the junk cluttering my brain out into the open where I can actually deal with it. It is the cheapest tool in this entire toolkit, and it might be the most powerful. Here's the actual ask. 5 to 10 minutes, every morning, in a journal. That's it. Not an hour, not some elaborate ritual with candles and incense. Buy a decent journal, grab a pen you actually like writing with, and put it in your calendar the same way you'd schedule a meeting you can't miss. Because this meeting with yourself matters more than most on your work calendar. This isn't some new age trend. Benjamin Franklin, founding father, printer, scientist, diplomat, kept a daily journal for most of his adult life. He used it to set goals, track his personal virtues, and reflect honestly on his own progress every single night before bed. If a system like that was good enough to help shape a nation, it's good enough for your Tuesday morning. Stephen King, a guy who has sold hundreds of millions of books, writes 2,000 words every single day no matter what. Rain, hangover, holidays, doesn't matter. He put it best. Amateurs sit around and wait for inspiration to strike, while the rest of us get up and go to work anyway. That line alone should be tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. You think gratitude journaling is soft, feel-good fluff for people with too much free time. It's not. Researchers tracked students who wrote down just 2 things they were grateful for each morning. Nothing fancy, 2 sentences, and those students posted higher test scores, higher life satisfaction, and measurably higher happiness than students who skipped it. 2 sentences a day, and your brain quietly recalibrates. My personal method is simple. I call it the 1-2-3. 1, a total brain dump, whatever's rattling around in my head, straight onto the page. 2, 2 big goals for the day, nothing more. 3, 3 things I'm grateful for. Takes about 4 minutes with a decent journal and a smooth pen, and that 4 minutes has genuinely changed my entire life. Cylinder 2 just recently clicked for me. Trail running. It sounds simple, but it's actually stacking 3 separate superpowers into one 20-minute window. Nature, direct sunlight, and genuinely challenging exercise, all happening before 8 in the morning. Do that combination first thing, before your brain even fully wakes up, and I promise your entire day shifts. It's not complicated, it's just rare. Researching this, I fell into a rabbit hole on Dr. Peter Attia, a physician who has built his entire career studying longevity. His core distinction: lifespan is just how many years you're alive, but health span is how many of those years you're actually strong, capable, and free of disease. Most people are optimizing for the wrong number entirely, chasing extra years instead of better ones. And here's what Attia's research keeps coming back to. Exercise has a bigger impact on your health span than almost anything else you could possibly do. Not supplements, not the latest biohacking gadget, not some trendy diet plan. Just consistent, honest movement. Every study he references points the same direction. The guys who move their bodies regularly simply live better, fuller, more capable lives than the guys who don't. You think the secret to a longer, better life is locked away in some cutting-edge drug still years from approval. It's not. The research is almost boringly clear. The stronger you are, the lower your risk of death, full stop. There is no pill, no injection, no supplement stack on the market that comes anywhere close to the benefit exercise provides your body and your brain. So talk to your doctor, obviously, and dig into Attia's actual work if you want the deep science. But as a real target, 300 minutes of exercise a week. That's it. Hit 300 minutes weekly and you will feel a difference you can't argue with. More energy, better sleep, a sharper brain, and a body that can actually keep up with the ambitions you're about to build. Cylinder 3. Reading. And this one is almost unfair, because the bar is so low. Read for even 1 hour a day and you are instantly in the top 10% of every person alive. Not because you're smarter than everyone else, because almost nobody actually does this consistently. 1 hour a day is the whole entry fee into an exclusive club most people never even try to join. Here's the actual number, and it's kind of depressing. The average person reads about 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes. That's barely enough time to finish a single chapter, let alone build any real depth of knowledge over a year. Meanwhile, the guys at the very top of nearly every industry, finance, science, business, are reading for hours, not minutes, and it shows in how they think. Take Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor who has ever lived. By his own account, he reads roughly 500 to 1,000 pages every single day, call it 5 times that already impressive 1 hour standard. That's not a hobby, that's a system, and it's a huge part of why his judgment on decades-long bets has been so consistently sharp. Buffett's longtime business partner, Charlie Munger, put it even more bluntly. He said, in his entire life, he had never known a single wise person who didn't read constantly. None, zero, not one exception in decades of watching smart, successful people operate. When two of the most successful investors in modern history independently land on the exact same non-negotiable habit, that is not a coincidence worth ignoring. The superpower of reading is actually twofold, and most people only think about half of it. Yes, you gain knowledge, that's the obvious part, but the deeper benefit is what the active habit itself does to your brain. It builds your focus, sharpens your own writing and communication, and strengthens raw cognitive ability, the same way lifting weights builds muscle you can use for everything else in life. So here's the action. Read for at least 30 minutes a day, minimum, no exceptions. It doesn't need to be some dense philosophy text either. Sci-fi, fantasy, biography, whatever actually pulls you in, the genre barely matters. The act itself is the benefit. I personally aim for 2 hours a day now, but 30 minutes, done consistently, will already put you miles ahead of where you are right now. Cylinder 4 is the one that makes people uncomfortable. Cap your phone use at 30 minutes a day. I know how that sounds. 30 minutes total, not 30 minutes per app. Most guys are sitting somewhere between 3 and 4 hours a day on that screen, and I'm about to show you exactly what that number is actually costing you, because it is so much more than you think. Do the actual math with me for a second. 4 hours a day on your phone, times 7 days, equals 28 hours a week. That's more than a full 24-hour day, completely gone, every single week, forever, just handed over to a slot machine in your pocket that was engineered by teams of the smartest people on Earth, specifically to keep you scrolling. You didn't choose to lose that day. It was taken. Now stretch that same lost day out across an entire adult lifetime. Add up every one of those 24-hour chunks, week after week, year after year, and you are looking at somewhere between 5 and 10 full years, not weeks, years, spent entirely on that screen. 5 to 10 years of your one and only life, 24 hours a day, gone to notifications you won't even remember by next Tuesday. Now flip it around and imagine getting that day back, every single week, starting right now. What could you actually do with 24 extra hours a week? You could read constantly, you could learn a new language, or finally pick up programming. You could call your parents more, show up for your friends more, actually be present with the people who matter instead of half present, phone in hand, half listening to your own life. So here's what I actually do. My phone lives in one spot in my apartment, period. I allow myself about 15 minutes with it a day, and otherwise it simply doesn't exist to me. Good, because the next 2 cylinders are the ones that actually rewrite your future, and one of them cost me 2 years I'll never get back. But it starts with something almost embarrassingly simple. Cylinder 5. Master the foundations better than everyone around you. The best students I have ever met were never the ones who memorized the most facts. They were the ones who genuinely understood the basics on a deeper level than anybody else in the room, and then applied that understanding in ways that fit exactly what they were trying to build. Almost no memorization, just real, honest comprehension. Here's where most students get it backwards. They assume the game is memorization, so they cram facts the night before, and it evaporates within a week. The guys who actually retain everything, who can pull information out and use it anywhere, are the ones who slowed down early and made sure the basic concept made real sense first. Speed comes later. Understanding always comes first. There's an actual framework behind this called Bloom's taxonomy, and it lays out 5 levels of learning. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate. Most students in school are stuck grinding away at level 1, pure memorization, because that is what tests seem to reward on the surface. But real mastery, the kind that actually sticks and actually transfers to new problems, lives at levels 2 and 3. You think the smartest people in the room are the ones who know the most facts. They're not. The ones who consistently blow everyone else away are the ones who understand a small amount of real information more deeply than anyone else present. Get genuinely comfortable at levels 2 and 3 of that pyramid. Real understanding, real application, and you will outperform 95% of everyone else trying to learn the exact same thing. So how do you actually build this? Pick one subject that genuinely pulls at your curiosity. Physics, history, economics, philosophy, whatever it is, and go find the best beginner-friendly books on it. Then go one step further and track down the actual foundational texts, the original works that built the entire field from scratch decades or centuries ago. That's the bedrock everything else in that subject was eventually built on top of. Personally, I'd start with physics, because it is genuinely fascinating once you get past the intimidation factor. Grab 6 Easy Pieces by Richard Feynman first. Short, entertaining, built for actual beginners, then work your way towards something like Newton's Principia. You will hit words and concepts you don't fully understand yet, and that's fine, that's expected. Look them up, sit with them, and eventually you can pick up almost any serious book and find your way through it. Now here's Cylinder 6, and I want to be honest with you, this next one is the one that actually changes everything. Stop being so relentlessly realistic. Work on something excitingly, almost embarrassingly ambitious, the kind of goal that makes your practical friends raise an eyebrow. If this is hitting different than the usual self-help fluff, subscribe. I put out exactly this kind of talk, regularly. Now let's get into why ambition itself might be the real cheat code. There's a line from The Alchemist, one of my favorite books, that captures this perfectly. When you truly want something, the whole universe conspires to help you achieve it. It sounds almost too poetic to be practical advice, but over the last 6 months alone, chasing a handful of genuinely big, borderline unrealistic visions has changed my actual life more than any small, safe, incremental goal ever managed to. I borrowed this next piece directly from an essay by Paul Graham, the programmer and investor. His advice: build the habit of working on your own projects. Don't let work simply mean whatever someone else assigns you. If you ever do something genuinely great, it will very likely be a project of your own choosing, something you're personally driving, even if it lives inside something bigger than you. You think ambition naturally fades as you get older and more responsible. It doesn't fade on its own. It gets talked out of you, one well-meaning realistic friend at a time, until you quietly stop believing it. Graham's real point is this: whatever excites you and pulls your curiosity, protect that feeling above almost everything else, because that exact curiosity is both the engine driving you forward and the compass telling you where to go. This is exactly why I walked away from medicine, if I'm being honest with you. I went through the training, I did the work, and along the way I realized what actually lit me up wasn't the clinical routine. It was solving hard, open-ended problems and building things that could reach and help way more people than one exam room ever could. So I followed that curiosity instead, even though it terrified me. And if you think you're too busy or too burdened to chase something ambitious, consider this. Marie Curie won Nobel Prizes in 2 separate sciences, physics and chemistry, while raising 2 children largely on her own, and she raised them well enough that one of her daughters went on to win a Nobel Prize herself. Abraham Lincoln was born into brutal poverty and still became one of the most consequential presidents in American history. So here's the actual challenge. Think of one thing that genuinely excites you, the kind of idea that makes you want to skip sleep. Then give it the next 48 hours. Not someday, not next quarter. 48 real hours, starting now. This single idea, the one you keep pushing to the back burner, might honestly be the thing that changes the entire trajectory of your life if you would just stop postponing it. Cylinder 7 is where the vision from Cylinder 6 actually meets reality. Quantify your inputs, not just your dreams. It is one thing to say you want to build something ambitious. It is a completely different thing to attach a real number to it and check on that number on a fixed schedule. Vague intentions evaporate. Numbers on a page, checked weekly, simply do not let you lie to yourself. I run this through a system from the book The 12-Week Year, treating 12 weeks like a full year, with far less room to procrastinate. At the end of every single week, I calculate what percentage of my planned goals actually got done. That one habit alone has visibly changed my output in the last month, because you cannot improve a number you have never once bothered to measure. Here's how you actually read that number once you have it. Land around 60% and something is off, so go dig into what's going wrong. Land around 85% and you have found the real sweet spot, ambitious but achievable. Hit 100% constantly and you're not being honest with yourself. Your goals are too soft, and it's time to raise the bar considerably higher. Watch for 3 phrases that quietly wreck the whole system. I'll figure it out eventually, I'll definitely have enough, and I can eyeball it. Every guy who ran out of money at 34, missed the deadline that mattered, or showed up completely unprepared said one of those 3 sentences to himself first. Your engine does not run on guesses or good intentions. Write the actual number down. Every single time. I am not preaching from some perfect mountaintop. Ask my family about the butternut squash soup disaster of 2016. The Thanksgiving I promised to figure out the recipe as I went instead of measuring anything. It went about how you'd expect. I have failed at quantifying things more times than I can count, and that failure is why I stopped trusting my gut and started trusting the written number. So here is the action step. Open your calendar right now and schedule everything, big and small alike. Your workout block, your reading block, even your haircut, even your coffee. At the end of each week, tally what you actually did against what you planned and turn it into one honest percentage. 60% means something broke. 85% is the sweet spot. 100% means you are not pushing yourself hard enough. In a minute, I'll get to the bonus habit that has nothing to do with willpower, but first, here's the one that might flip your entire life around. Mostly ignore your outputs. You think the number on the scale, the dollar amount, or the follower count is what matters. It isn't. Chasing outputs directly is a losing game, because outputs are barely inside your control. What is inside your control is the input, the daily action, done consistently, regardless of what the scoreboard says today. Think about the actual math behind any output you're chasing. It's your input, multiplied by how other people happen to be feeling that day, multiplied by market swings you'll never predict, multiplied by plain weather, multiplied by chance nobody saw coming. You cannot control most of that equation. So stop grading yourself on a number that is mostly luck, and start grading yourself on the one variable you actually own. For me, that shows up in this exact channel. My actual goal was never subscriber counts or ad revenue. It's making something genuinely useful and putting it out into the world so somebody's Tuesday gets a little better. I stopped checking the subscriber number every hour years ago, because obsessing over it changed nothing about the work. Show up, make the thing well, share it. The rest is noise I don't need in my head. None of this means you ignore results completely. That would be its own kind of stupid. I still spend roughly 5% of my time checking the output, because sometimes your inputs are quietly broken and the only way you'd know is by looking at what came out the other end. 5% is enough to catch a real problem. Anything more than that and you're back to obsessing over a scoreboard you don't control. Here's what that 5% actually looks like in real life. I spent close to a year trying to put on weight, doing what I thought was everything right. Lifting, eating more, tracking calories. The scale barely moved. So I went back and checked the input instead of blaming my body, and found out I had been logging my calories wrong the entire time. One broken input, hidden for the better part of a year, disguised as a mystery. There's a line from the Bhagavad Gita that I think about weekly. You are entitled to the labor, never to the fruits of that labor. Read that twice, because it's the whole philosophy compressed into one sentence. You don't get to demand a specific outcome from the universe. You only get to control whether you showed up and did the work today, honestly, fully, without cutting corners. Now, one bonus habit, since 8 was apparently not enough for me. For the past year, I've done my most important work sitting in a coffee shop instead of at home. There's something about the minimalism of it. No laundry pile staring at you, no couch calling your name, only a table, a coffee, and strangers around you also getting things done. It works closer to magic than I expected it to. The rhythm looks like this: 2 to 4 hours, headphones in, laptop open, phone left far out of reach, no second screen, no clutter, nothing else competing for your attention. I think part of it is the same reason public gyms work better than home workouts. There's a quiet kind of peer pressure when everyone around you is also focused and grinding. Borrow that energy. Let it pull you into the work. So here's the whole engine, all in one breath. Write for 5 minutes every single morning. Move your body before the day gets its hands on you. Read for real, not scroll, for at least 30 minutes. Cut your phone down from 4 hours to 30 minutes and watch 24 hours reappear in your week. Quantify your inputs with an honest number, then let the outputs take care of themselves. 1 week. That's genuinely all it took to feel like a different person, running on a different engine entirely. I'm not handing you theory I read somewhere. I built every one of these habits into my own life first, and watched what changed. If you take even 3 of these 8 and run them for the next 7 days, you will not recognize the version of yourself waiting on the other side.